Hello there! Wow! Perfect! Wonderful! Well done!
Okay!
What's up, everybody? The Nintendo Beast here, and today is a very special day. The Super Mario Bros. Movie, at long last, is finally here in US theaters. I got to see it on opening night, saw it Wednesday night, and I loved it expectingly. I totally expected myself to love it, but I'm here today to do somewhat of a movie review. Before I get into it, first of all, obviously there are going to be some spoilers ahead. I'm going to try to keep it at a minimum, but, you know, with that being said, viewer discretion is advised. If you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want anything spoiled at all before you get to see the movie, maybe pause the video here and come back after you've seen the movie and see if your opinion aligns with mine. Also, I do want to say that being the Nintendo Beast and being such a huge fan of Super Mario and everything Nintendo, really, I'm gonna be a little bit biased. Okay, I'm gonna be inherently biased about this. I loved it. I'm just gonna come out. I'm not gonna wait till the end to tell you what my score is. I'm gonna tell you right now. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. It's a 10 out of 10 film for me. That's not to say that I don't have a couple of little pet peeves about the movie, and I'll dive into that as well. Going into the movie, I knew that I was going to be biased. I knew that it was going to take a lot to go wrong in the film for me to look at it and be like, I don't like it. Like, I can't watch this. You know what I mean? So, let's get into it. Mario, Luigi, they are trying to start a business. They both quit their plumbing jobs to start their own plumbing company. That's where the film starts. And they fail. They're not doing so hot. They're not really getting the customer calls. They're struggling, right? And then on the news, they see that a water main broke in Brooklyn, and who is going to save Brooklyn from this water main break, from this flooding, right? And they decide, you know what? The Super Mario Brothers are going to be the ones to save Brooklyn, right? So they go underground, they go into the subway, or not the subways, the sewers, and they start looking for this water main break because they're like, oh, we know where to go, we're experts. Which is weird because, like, they're experts, but they also suck. So they're just like, we know what to do. They're not even looking in the right place. They go into the sewers. They're looking for this water main break, and they find this mysterious space that's kind of reminiscent of Nightmare Before Christmas, how Jack Skellington wanders and stumbles upon, in the middle of the woods, this circle of trees, each one with a holiday emblem on it, and he gets warped into this Christmas town. If anybody's familiar, you should be. It's a phenomenal film. It's one of my favorites. Anyway, not important. It's kind of reminiscent of that because they stumble upon this room of just pipes, right? It's like, oh, this place looks like it hasn't been visited in decades. And there's one specifically, a big green pipe. You can see where this is going, and it sucks Luigi in, and then Mario's like, Luigi, where'd you go? And he looks in, he gets sucked in, and then through this warp pipe, they split up somehow. They get split up on different paths. Luigi dumps into this, like, spooky Luigi's Mansion-esque forest area that you see in the trailers. Mario ends up in the Mushroom Kingdom, where he meets up with Toad, and again, we've seen that in the trailers as well. That's where the real main storyline begins, I guess, you could say, because then Mario and Toad go to find Princess Peach in the Mushroom Kingdom, and that introduces you to the entire scope of the Mushroom Kingdom. Meanwhile, Luigi gets captured almost immediately. He runs through the woods, ends up in a kind of spooky, mansion, Luigi's Mansion-esque place, and then gets captured by Shy Guys, and ends up in the cage, again, that we've seen in the trailer, as a prisoner of Bowser, along with many others. And then, meanwhile, Mario, Toad, they meet up with Peach. Mario kind of proves his mettle to some extent. To some extent, they set off on a quest to recruit the Kong army so that they can all go face off with Bowser, stop Bowser's evil plan. And for the record, Bowser's evil plan is literally just to try to impress and marry Peach. That is it. He's just like he's a hopeless romantic who's an idiot and doesn't know what he's doing. And he thinks that asserting his dominance and his power and that kind of thing is going to woo Peach and Peach is not that kind of ruler. So that's kind of the downfall of Bowser's hopes and dreams throughout the film. Mario comes along, kind of just inherently wins over Peach's heart to some extent, and so it becomes like Peach is mentoring him, but also kind of falling for him, seemingly. There's not that much romance involved, except for Bowser swooning over Peach throughout the entire film, which is hilarious also. And then that's the main storyline. You have Peach and Mario and Toad going after Bowser, trying to stop Bowser, also trying to a lesser extent to save Luigi. Like Mario, that's the one thing on Mario's mind. On Peach and Toad's mind, it's more so, let's save the Mushroom Kingdom from Bowser. And then, yeah, we'll save your brother while we're doing all that. So I'm going to kick it off with the cons. I only have 2 real gripes about the movie. I don't know if I would call them really gripes, but they're kind of gripes, I guess. My first con, and maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't, I don't know. This movie was called the Super Mario Brothers movie, right? It was the Super Mario Brothers movie. The whole film did more or less revolve around both Mario and Luigi. Luigi falls to the background almost immediately. That's part of the story, that he gets captured and needs Mario to save him, but he just falls into this like background character role. The meat of the film, he spends the time off screen, or hanging in a cage somewhere in Bowser's lair. That's kind of where Luigi spends a lot of his time. He becomes like a complete afterthought, which, I mean, it's Luigi, so it's whatever. But Mario at times also feels like he becomes like a bit of an afterthought. It does feel like at times Mario and Luigi's story kind of takes a back seat to what's happening with Peach. Peach is, for all intents and purposes, the main character in this film. I know that sounds weird because it's the Super Mario Brothers movie, and I guess that's my point. She has just as much screen time, if not more screen time. She's the one that's like teaching Mario how to be Super Mario, right? Like how to use power-ups and what it's like to be in the Mushroom Kingdom and all these different things. She's like a mentor to Mario. Mario is just kind of along for the ride for the whole Bowser situation, but that becomes the real driving narrative. And I guess that's why it almost feels more like a Peach movie, because Peach is on this main quest and Mario is attached to it via a side quest, like a mutual side quest, trying to save Luigi. My only other con, and this might surprise some people, because I know when the trailers rolled out, the Rainbow Road whole Mario Kart scene was like, oh my god, it's Rainbow Road. They're really paying homage to the Mario Kart franchise. This is so freaking cool. And yet, that scene, that sequence on Rainbow Road, I have to say, like, it was very cool. It was exciting. It was fun to watch. It was visually stimulating, obviously. But with that being said, I feel like it was maybe one of my least favorite sequences in the film. And I'll tell you why. The entire film feels like an absolute love letter to the Super Mario Brothers game franchise, to Nintendo, to everything we as fans have come to know and love about Super Mario. I think, if I recall correctly, they showed 3 real Mario Kart weapons. Again, they're using the whole film, they were drawing all kinds of legitimate power-ups. They didn't make anything up. It was all just like pulled directly from the games, for all intents and purposes, right? So you had like your Cat Mario power-up, you had your Fire Flower, you had your various different mushroom types. But then the Mario Kart scene came, and we saw a green turtle shell, right? We saw, spoiler alert, the blue turtle shell, and we saw the banana peels. But there were so many more that they could have used, but they didn't. Instead, they chose to have all these like Kong carts, because they had the Kong army with them. they decided to soup up all these Kong carts with like things that don't actually exist, like weapons that don't actually exist in the Mario Kart franchise, right? You had like these like barrel cannons mounted on the top and like the rockets and whatever, and it was like, these aren't real weapons in the Mario Kart franchise, and it just felt weird. It felt off to me. It felt like a weird, brief disconnect from all of the fan service. Like, there was all kinds of fan service in the beginning. It got to that scene. There was a weird disconnect. They just kind of took a little bit more creative license than they did throughout the rest of the film. And then they was back into the fan service and being accurate to the games. And so that it just made that scene stick out to me, and it just felt kind of weird. But with that said, obviously, those are my two cons. Obviously, if it's a 10 out of 10, that means I have a bunch of pros, a bunch more pros for this film, so let's jump into those. Perhaps the biggest thing in my mind that stuck out and just made me like the happiest of Mario fans was just the overabundance of Easter eggs and little nods throughout the entire film. It was absolutely phenomenal. When I say this pays homage to the entire Super Mario franchise, and that it is a love letter, an absolute love letter to the Super Mario franchise, to all of the games, to all of the old shows, even like the everything. When I say it's a love letter, I mean it is a love letter. No exaggeration. Right out of the gate, they just started beating you over the head with Easter eggs and little gentle nods, and it was just like, it was so fun to experience. Some things that come to mind, early on, Mario is kind of getting verbally beat down by his family, you know, kind of being like, Mario's a loser, blah, 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 he's, you know, when are you gonna grow up, get a secure job, that kind of thing, stop trying to, you know, rope your brother Luigi into starting this business, this plumbing business. Mario leaves the dinner table, the family dinner table, and he goes to his room, and he's sitting there, and he's playing Kid Icarus on the NES. Again, they're starting the Super Mario Brothers plumbing company, right, in Brooklyn, New York, and they created this ad, like this goofy ad, this commercial. In that commercial, they kind of played on the fact that, okay, this is the traditional Mario and Luigi, like, it's me, like, really, like, over-the-top, goofy Italian accents, and then it dials back, and they're like, it's like breaking the fourth wall a little bit. They're just like analyzing, like, you think the voice was over the top a little bit? You think the voices were too much? And then there comes the cameo from Charles Martinet, in case you missed it. The other guy in the diner overhears this conversation, and he's like, "Oh no, it's a perfect, woohoo!" And that was Charles Martinet's cameo, and he has another little cameo, same character, but another little cameo later in the film as well, which I heard it and I was like, love it. But I bring up the commercial specifically because if you listen to the commercial, the Hooked on the Brothers rap that they used was actually from, I believe, the Super Mario Brothers Super Show from back in, like, I want to say the early 90s, but it was actually, they used the theme song from that old real show as the jingle for the Super Mario Brothers plumbing company in this movie, which I think was just such a cool nod. The Donkey Kong rap, which I know from Donkey Kong 64. I don't know if it actually exists outside of Donkey Kong 64. There's like a Coliseum battle type of thing between Donkey Kong and Mario, and Donkey Kong's entrance music is that DK rap, which is just freaking hilarious and fantastic. And they only played like the chorus on repeat, but it was just so good. I loved it. And with all that said, with the Easter eggs, like that, I just want to close that note saying how great the Easter eggs and the nods were. It honestly feels like I could watch that movie 100 more times and still find something new. It is literally like a Where's Waldo, like an I Spy book, if anybody remembers those. I don't know if they still exist. But it's like an I Spy book. Like every time you look at the page, you find something new in it. And it's the exact same thing with this movie. Like there's no way you can pick up on every little thing with just one view. So leave me a comment in the comment section below. What was your favorite Easter egg in the film, if you've seen it? What was your favorite Easter egg, your favorite nod? Maybe you saw something that I missed. I'm sure you did. Maybe I saw something that you missed. Leave me a comment in the comment section below and let me know what your favorite Easter eggs were. Now let's talk about a hot button issue that was on everybody's mind going into the film, the voice acting. So I think everybody has already established that Jack Black is a perfect Bowser. He plays a great Bowser. You get exactly what you expected from the trailers. Jack Black is phenomenal. Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach, again, phenomenal. Keegan-Michael Key as the main Toad, phenomenal. The bigger ones, obviously, though, being Chris Pratt as Mario and Charlie Day as Luigi. I'm not mad at it. It did definitely, as expected, take a little bit of getting used to. Growing up with Charles Martinet as the voice. And, like, when I saw the opening commercial for the Super Mario Brothers, like, plumbing service in the film, like, the opening scene of the film, I heard they're, like, over the top, like, it's a me, like, Italian accents, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so good. This is so good. And then it was like, that ended, you heard them talk regularly, and you're like, oh, they're making it a point to note, like, they're not going to talk like that the entire movie. And that was, like, in my mind, that was a little bit of a letdown. Then throughout the entire film, you get used to their voices, and it is what it is. But I can't help but to feel like they probably could have pulled off the over-the-top voices, and it wouldn't have been annoying. You get used to it. I guess that's all I can say. They're not bad. It's good. It's fine. It works out. And, like, as the film progresses, you get, like, 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, like, 5 minutes into the movie, and you've just, like, your ears have adapted to it. Like, yeah, you can be a stickler and be like, this is not my Mario, not my Luigi, but realistically, like, 5 minutes into the movie, you get used to their voices, and you're just like, okay, these are the voices of cinematic Mario and Luigi, and that's just that, and it's not bad. Period. So, you know, it is what it is. The only voice that really, really hit me kind of weird, like DK, Seth Rogen was good, was phenomenal as well. I don't want to say he was good and all the other ones were phenomenal. He was phenomenal as well. The only one that kind of hit me weird was Cranky Kong. Cranky Kong, I don't know. So, like, I guess, so I watched the old cartoons of the Donkey Kong Country 3D animated Legend of the Crystal Coconut and all that. And, like, they had Diddy Kong made a brief cameo in the film, and he had this real raspy voice, like you would expect him to, if you watch those old cartoons. Cranky Kong, I expected just to be, like, a little bit more, I don't know, like, raspier. I'm not gonna even try to imitate what I think it should have sounded like, but, like, raspier, crankier, older, whatever. I think he just kind of sounded too young. He sounded too youthful, too lively, I think. I don't know who the voice actor was behind Cranky Kong, but, like, that was, like, my takeaway. It just hit the ear wrong, and, like, you get used to it after a couple scenes, but, like, it's still kind of weird. It just doesn't hit quite the right notes of Cranky Kong for me. But, you know, the story itself in the film, I kind of touched on it earlier. At times, the story definitely feels pretty derivative because it is like a family film, and it's, you know, there are elements that have been seen before, but it has this incredibly beautiful skin of the Super Mario Brothers. And honestly, I think the story of this film did a lot to give characters motives, give characters relatability, and, like, make them more personable than most of the Mario games ever have. So, like, you have Mario, like, a lot of the games, it's a very simple, like, you know, cookie cutter, copy and paste narrative. You have Mario, he's got to save Peach, he's got to fight Bowser to do it. You got to rescue Peach from Bowser. I guess the point of this film was, like, he wasn't just Super Mario, he was becoming Super Mario. Like, he was just a regular plumber from Brooklyn, and he is becoming this powerful, iconic video game hero that we've come to know and love. It felt like an origin story for him. It felt like an origin story for Bowser. Same thing with Donkey Kong. There was, like, this relatable, and it kind of tied Mario and Donkey Kong together in a lot of ways, because there was, like, this father complex for both Donkey Kong and Mario. They lack the approval of their fathers, their respective fathers. My point is, they even gave Donkey Kong, who is, for all intents and purposes, a side character, they even gave Donkey Kong this narrative. They could have just left Donkey Kong as, like, a two-dimensional character, just kind of like, oh yeah, you beat Donkey Kong, you get the Kong army, and we're all on your side. That's all that needed to happen, but they didn't. They went a step farther, and they actually made Donkey Kong a real relatable character, and I thought that was cool. I said about the Easter eggs earlier, and just like the game to film accuracy in so many ways was just phenomenal. Like how certain enemies reacted to being, jumped on or hit or kicked or whatever, right? Like you could watch it and be like, oh, that's exactly how that enemy reacts to getting kicked in the game too. So that's a really little fun nod. It wasn't like they just kicked it off a cliff, because that would have been so easy to do. They were like, it was just that level of attention to detail throughout the entire film, which was just so good. The Mario Kart sequence, it was like, oh, go choose your cart, and they had the 3 spinners, dude. You select your cart body, your wheels, and your glider. That was on screen. Like they had that, and that was super cool. There were a couple of sequences throughout the film where they split off, or they had the camera pan to a way. It kind of reminds me of like Sonic Frontiers recently, and I know, how dare I mention a Sonic game when reviewing the Mario movie, but bear with me here. It kind of clicks into a camera angle where it's 2-dimensional, and suddenly in this 3-dimensional world, it becomes on screen a 2-dimensional level, right? Like side-scroller level. And they have a couple of different sequences in the Mario movie where it becomes that, like the camera clicks into like this kind of like side view, and it becomes like they're doing like basically parkour through Brooklyn, and it's like they're running through what looks like a 2D side-scroller level. And there are a couple different sequences like that throughout the film, which I thought were very cool as well. How the power-ups work, again, very accurate. And the nods in the soundtrack. The soundtrack was so good. It wasn't just like, oh, we not stole, obviously, but we took soundtrack songs from the games and dumped them in. No, it's like a fully cinematic, original soundtrack. But that's not to say you don't hear little melodies and nods that just like this nostalgia from previous games. One of my personal favorite songs of all time, it's my Nintendo Beast intro, a remix of it. I believe it's called Inside the Castle Walls, and it is from Super Mario 64. When you enter Peach's castle, this music plays, and in the movie when they approach Peach's castle, that song or that melody is infused, it's embedded in the otherwise original orchestral cinematic soundtrack, which is very cool. And then you have Bowser playing the piano, and he's like playing his theme and like stuff like that. Like it's just like gentle nods throughout the entire film. It's just so cool. It was just such a cool soundtrack from start to finish. And of course there's original music. Bowser has an original song in the film. I won't spoil it, but it's hilarious. I loved it. And yeah, it's all original, and yet somehow it's still, they just have these little subtle nods throughout the entire film that just like, oh yeah, oh my god, that song is from this part of this game, or, whatever. And I think that's very cool. And the last thing I really want to touch on as one of the biggest pros of the film for me was the world building aspect. They introduced all of these kingdoms, and they kind of introduced an infinite possibility of kingdoms. You see the Mushroom Kingdom, you see the Darklands, I believe is what they called them, where Bowser dwells, and it's also where the whole Luigi's Mansion-esque scenes take place. And then you also have the Jungle Kingdom, where the Kongs are. It introduces these different kingdoms, and this concept that like this world is much larger than what you're seeing on screen just during this hour-and-a-half long movie. The world building really establishes this sense of infiniteness. Right? There are infinite possibilities where they could go with this next, and I'm hoping they intend on creating a full Nintendo cinematic universe. I think that a Donkey Kong movie is absolutely due. They've established this Jungle Kingdom and how deep it is. They had a bunch of cameos. Cranky Kong. They had, is it Tiny Kong or is it Dixie? Tiny Kong, right? Tiny Kong, I believe. The little pink one, they always get confused. I think Dixie is the girlfriend of Donkey Kong? I don't remember. They had Diddy Kong as well, though. They had so many of the Kongs. I feel like we could very easily see a Luigi's Mansion movie, and probably, obviously, a Super Mario Bros. 2 as well. Just a straight-up sequel to the first one, I think would be the most logical assumption, and then just keep building from there. And as long as the films continue to do well, I think the sky is really the limit as far as a Nintendo cinematic universe goes. Let's talk about the post-credit scenes. There are 2 post-credit scenes. One, it's like more of a one mid-credit scene and one post-credit scene, like all the way at the end. The mid-credit scene is literally just Bowser still singing his song about Peach, and it's hilarious, but it kind of just reestablishes that Bowser's not done yet. His pursuit for Peach is never-ending, and it will proceed into the next film, more likely than not. And then the post-credit scene, the actual post-credit scene, at the very end, the film ends in the Mushroom Kingdom, but then the post-credit scene shows in the Brooklyn sewer system a Yoshi egg. It just slow zoom, you see this egg, it starts wobbling, it cuts to black, and you just hear, Yoshi! And that's the end. Like, the end. That obviously leads to a sequel. Featuring Yoshi. Anyway, this review went way longer than I had anticipated, so I apologize for that. I just wanted to do like a little TED Talk here. I wanted to talk about the Mario movie. We waited so long, and I didn't want to just do a 3-minute video where it's like, it was good. I liked it. Easter eggs, good. Mario Kart scene, not so good. 10 out of 10, though. Like, I wanted to get in depth with it and tell you exactly what I felt when I was watching it. This one was the Mario movie that we've been waiting for. When I saw Shigeru Miyamoto's name come up in the beginning, it's like, Shigeru Miyamoto presents. And it's like, oh my god, dude, just like the butterflies. A Shigeru Miyamoto film, and it's like, yes, we know it's gonna be good because his name's on it, and that means his involvement was enough that his name is on it. You know what I mean? This was the Mario Brothers movie that we've been waiting so long for, and so I needed to do a review. Not even just a review. This was just a rant of me telling you how good and how much I loved it, but like, I needed to do this video because it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. We're never gonna see the first Mario Brothers movie again, and somewhere down the road, we might be looking at an extended universe like the MCU. We might be looking at the NCU, the Nintendo Cinematic Universe, and this is where it all began with this 10 out of 10 killer love letter to the Super Mario Brothers, and yeah, I'm here for it, and I'm gonna be here for it forever. With all that said, leave me a comment in the comment section below. Let me know anything that I didn't touch on, what you thought about the movie, what your rating for the film would have been. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that bell for notifications for when I do live streams here on the channel every single weekend, and when I upload new video content such as this every single weekday, Monday through Friday of every single week. Smash the like button on this video, and like I said before already, about 100 times, leave me a comment in the comment section below. But until next time, I am the Nintendo Beast. Thank you so much for watching.